Honestly, there is so much work that needs to be done. For me, even though I was born in the 80s, you hear all of these stories, and I'm aware of things that happened before my birth. And I think that what has happened is that the overt has been, changed into this covert racism, and is now at the heart of our education systems, our healthcare system, our judicial system. And I think that those are the places that we need to see the most change, because even though we may not be like America and we may not have guns in our faces, we still face difficulties that affect our lives, and sometimes cost us our lives. And so I think that when it comes to dismantling systemic racism, these things need to be done at the very heart of the institutions that exist.
Because when it does come to subconscious bias, it can be incredibly difficult to prove. In fact, it can be difficult to acknowledge because an individual might not even know they have such a bias. So, give some examples as to subconscious bias. What have you experienced in the course of your career, maybe?
How long have you got? um, Honestly, for me, I think it's an everyday thing. Just yesterday, my daughter was jogging around our area. We live in a predominantly white area. It was raining, so she had her hood up, and a lady locked her car doors and dragged her daughter inside. And my daughter was like, what did she think I was going to do, mommy? Like, and these are the things that, however, it may seem harmless, and it may seem, in isolation, it might be shocking, but for something like this, for my 14-year-old to laugh means that, an element of it is actually normalized for her. It means that she's used to these kinds of things happening, and she's 14. So imagine my experiences at 39. I'd say I used to work in a, predominantly white. I think what's important is that it's white at an executive level, which means that the lack of diversity at an executive level means that when it comes to working in the media, it's hard for you to be heard. And, people like yourselves existing is so incredible for us. And, it's an example of Black excellence and needing to be excellent to exist at the level you do. And, it's in the fabric of everything that we come into contact with, which is really unfortunate, but it is normalized.
I mean, am I right in understanding that you yourself have been stopped by police in the past?
Oh, yeah, more than a few times. And again, not until I started talking out about it did things change. And I think we need to really focusing on that, on the importance of using our voices and using our platforms and being out and allowed.
In terms of what we've seen, in terms of the response to this recent Black Lives Matter movement, when you've seen the recent rallies and protests, the makeup have been black, white, people of all races, young and old. Do you feel that there is a difference with this Black Lives Matter and a different look at racism? People are more understanding. I don't know, suddenly a light has shone and people could see racism for what it is in some areas.
Honestly, I thank God for my daughter's generation. They are so woke. They're having conversations amongst themselves. My daughter has told me about so many experiences she has had with people coming to her and asking her questions. And she's also, because she has the knowledge, she's able to point them in the direction. And I think this sharing of information, we can attack social media as much as we like. Social media has played a huge part in the protest and the amplification of Black voices and Black Lives Matter as a movement. And I think it's a really positive thing that we really should encourage and be thankful for. And our young people, I think it's so important to listen to what they have to say. Some of the conversations that me and my daughters have been having at the breakfast table have just been incredible. And I feel really hopeful because of them.
And how have you been doing in all of this? Because you are seeing many voices, many Black people coming forward and talking about their own experiences with racism over their lives, almost reliving it, really, almost saying that it's actually been traumatic. How have you handled all of this?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I have tried to encourage is the end to Black people having to retell their traumatic experiences. We know we're having traumatic experiences, and I think there's also almost this element of Black pain porn, and I just kind of feel like let's not focus on that. We've told our stories, we've used our voices, and everything is out there to be researched and to be read. And if you want to hear all of those kind of horrible things, then that's fine. But let's talk about moving the conversation on. Let's talk about dismantling the systems and how you can be a part of that. Let's have those conversations, because I feel like us retelling these stories, we've been telling our stories for years. This is not the first time I'm here talking about racism, but it is the first time that I felt that I've been listened to on a grand scale, and not just me. I feel that we've all been listened to, and I think as a collective, our voices are being heard. And I'd love to see this continue.
Okay, Jamelia, so good talking to you. Thank you so much for talking to 5 News.
Thanks for having me.